I think a lot of people find their passion through like purpose rather than the business itself. So we've got so many members that you can tell they're not really passionate about the business as much, but they're passionate of what the business will bring them in terms of freedom, flexibility, more time with the family. So I think, making a short-term sacrifice to then have more flexibility, it's just an absolute no-brainer, because if you don't sacrifice now, your life will be a reflection of you not making those sacrifices.
I did sacrifice like weekends out, going down the pub, going away with friends for a long weekend or like holidays and stuff. And you do that at the beginning because, you need to do that at the beginning because it's about, one, not only just educating yourself, but carrying that momentum through your business. Because especially in the early days, if you take your foot off the gas a little bit, you can start to become a little bit complacent.
When you were working, obviously full-time, then you're going home, working on like what you want to do rather than like to break out of that job. And I know members have said this to me, but doesn't it make your job easier? Because you're going in and you're thinking, I'm not going to be like for me, I'd go in and be miserable. But then once I started working on something else, I was like going in happy because I was like, I'll be out of here soon. I'm working on this. And you go home and you're like pumped up. Like even if you've had a crap day at work, you go home like ready to like smash because you want to get out of that.
Thanks for coming on to this podcast, guys. So I'm joined by Tami, Josh, and James. We're going to be talking about sacrifices, because we all know to get somewhere in life, you have to make sacrifices. If you're going to gain, you have to make a sacrifice. So we're going to talk a little bit about our journey, maybe some of our members' journeys on how they've got from A to B. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't realize that they have to make some type of sacrifice to get over that line. They want everything they have now, but also more. But there's only enough time in the day to be able to do all of this. You have to eliminate things like distractions. You have to invest money to make money. So sometimes you may have to sacrifice things like holidays or meals out if you want to invest more money into your business. So I think it's going to be a really interesting topic to talk about, because I think there is a lot of people out there that don't realize they have to sacrifice to get more in the long run. So it's kind of like short-term pain, long-term gain, basically. But we've all been there, all of us. We've all had to make a sacrifice at some point to get to where we are today.
Completely agree. I remember when I first started out, and I was in full-time employment, and I was doing like an 8-hour day at work, and then I was going home and I was doing 4 hours in the evening on my business, and then like sometimes going to bed at like 1-2 o'clock in the morning. It was nuts. But and I did sacrifice like weekends out, going down the pub, going away with friends for a long weekend or like holidays and stuff. And you do that at the beginning because, you need to do that at the beginning because it's about, one, not only just educating yourself, but carrying that momentum through your business. Because especially in the early days, if you take your foot off the gas a little bit, you can start to become a little bit complacent. And then trying to pick that momentum back up again can be really difficult. But yeah, very much in the early days, it was a full day of working during my full-time employment and then smash straight into the side hustle to try and build that to a point that you could then like lose that day job. That's kind of what everybody was striving for when creating a side hustle. All right, some people want to just want a side hustle to supplement their income, their daytime income. But some people want that full freedom. And you have to sacrifice the niceties, if you like, in order to build your business to a point that it can take over your full-time income.
It's changing your daily habits, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's changing your daily habits.
I was just going to say, when you were working, obviously full-time, then you're going home, working on like what you want to do rather than like to break out of that job. And I know members have said this to me, but doesn't it make your job easier? Because you're going in and you're thinking, I'm not going to be like for me, I'd go in and be miserable. But then once I started working on something else, I was like going in happy because I was like, I'll be out of here soon. I'm working on this. And you go home and you're like pumped up. Like even if you've had a crap day at work, you go home like ready to like smash because you want to get out of that.
Yeah, you've got that end goal in mind, haven't you? You've got that vision, that like your reason why.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you doing your stuff during the day? Well, I'm using this to fund my side hustle so that my side hustle can become my
Yeah.
full-time hustle. And I think, yeah, that's right. It gives you that driver, doesn't it?
I was exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly the same as that when I was employed, and I was going into work, and then I started learning. Like I got more excited when I was going into work, if that makes sense, because I was like, when I was trying to put a little bit of time aside, I was a bit fortunate in my job because I was on a laptop quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I was, putting a little bit of time aside, trying to learn and stuff like that. But for me, like, I had a purpose. So when I had my girls, that was more of a drive for me as well.
Yeah.
And and I've heard this so many times from so many people, like, you work hard now for an easy future, or you work easy now for a hard future.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
so
so
true.
true.
It's you have to put the time in, sacrifice little things. Like, it don't have to be huge sacrifices, just little things to give you that time to be able to learn the skill set or learn something.
So there's one thing I used to love doing is like finishing work and going, do you know what? Especially when the weather's nice, I'm going to go for a little drive. I didn't have like a super nice car, but I'd go for a little drive. I'd stop, maybe grab an ice cream, whatever, like live your best life outside your work hours. I had to sacrifice all those little things that I enjoyed doing just to sit in a little room at my mum's house on my laptop.
Yeah.
When me and Tami started, like, we never had any holidays really. We sacrificed our holidays. Most people don't want to sacrifice holidays.
But it didn't feel like a sacrifice. I think we've said this before. It didn't feel a sacrifice at the time because we were excited and we thought one day we'll be traveling the world, which is
100%.
what we're doing now. So it didn't feel like we were
We
sacrificing
knew
anything.
it was like a short-term loss for a long-term gain, didn't we? We knew that. Like, we had this vision, and we knew. We looked at all the people that were living that life already, and we were like, okay, they all made sacrifices. We listened to their stories. It's not like, oh no, I continued going on a holiday, I continued hanging out with my mates, continued to do bullshit things basically, and then I got this life, and it's never the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've always sacrificed. So
Yeah, you rather, it depends what you want in life. You rather, if you want to stay comfortable, then you do the comfortable things. You don't sacrifice anything. But if you want big things in life, which a lot of people have it inside them, they want the big things in life, but they just don't want to sacrifice things.
The amount of times, Josh, I've put stuff on my socials that question this type of thing, that say, get rid of your loser mates. They're not helping you level up. They're people that just want to have fun 24/7. Get rid of them. You want to hang around with people that talk about business, making more money. And I get a lot of people, respond angry, like quite angry with that, because they're looking at it thinking, well, why am I going to get rid of my mate? I've had people say, why would I get rid of my mate that I've known 15 years, that I went to school with, that has been there for me every time I've needed them? And I'm like, but they're not helping you level up. That's my point. They're not talking about making more money or creating new businesses. Like, it's a different type of person. And this is why a lot of people are stuck where they are, because they're not willing to make those sacrifices. Like, there'll be people now watching this podcast thinking what Ryan's saying is a load of bull, because I ain't going to get rid of my mates. They're really good friends of mine, but they're not helping you level up. You need to start getting around people that say, look, what have you done today? What are you doing this week? What are your goals? What do you want to achieve by the end of this month? Like, they're the people that you need to hang around with. And I think we've all found that quite early on in our journeys. We've got around the right people.
Yeah, definitely.
And the conversations are just completely different. The
Yeah.
energy is different, and you just feel much better for it.
I think people, you to be honest, you don't really realise that until you start hanging around with different people.
Yeah, that's so true.
Do you know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
like you get rid of all your mates, or you get rid of the people that bring you down straight away. You need to hang around with other people first to give you that idea to be able to do it, because it naturally happens. Like with me, I didn't just completely get rid of my mates straight away. I was hanging around with other people first, and then it changed my mindset. Then it was like, okay, I need to spend more time with these people because they're helping me level up.
Yeah.
And I need to move away from these people.
But you don't even think of it, do you, Josh?
No.
Like, you don't even think, like, I need to remove these people. Like, your mind, it just happens.
It's just
It's
the
really weird,
energy.
yeah.
You feel your energy is different. Like, I come away, for example, if I've been with you guys, like, my energy is totally different than if I've been with my friends who I went to school with, and I come away quite drained. And I never really understood why, but now I do, because, like, you're around the right people, the right conversations, like.
And the only friends I have are people like that. Like, me and Yayan went down to see Conor Ben on Monday, and on the way there, on the way home, we're just talking about creating businesses. What Yayan's got planned for the year, like what he wants to achieve, and the connections that we have. It's just, and it's a conversation that I'm so interested in. I'm like, I'm so like, this is amazing. You know, I can't have a conversation anymore talking about what happened on the news or what happened the other day or did you hear this? I've got zero interest. My mind just switches off.
Yeah. I think so many people are stuck in the traditional mindset, the traditional way of living every single week. They don't see the other opportunities either.
Yeah.
So that's why they can't separate themselves. Does that make sense? So you have to adjust a little bit. If you want different things, if you don't want to be comfortable, then you need to separate yourself, learn from other people, educate yourself, and then move forward that way.
Yeah, I think a lot of like with the traditional mindset and that traditional way of working is that 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, you get the weekend off. It's yours to relax, chill out, enjoy yourself. Whereas, like we see it, I don't see it as weekdays and weekends anymore. I mean, the only reason why I noticed their weekends is like because Teddy's off of school. Like, you know, if it wasn't for that, like the amount of times, like he's away at the minute on holiday with his mum, and I've just lost track of days because it's like there's no day off, but not because, I guess for two reasons there's no day off. Is one, like I was sort of saying just before we started, with an e-commerce business, you know, you have to, especially in the early days, you have to sacrifice, like we kind of started talking about, is you have to sacrifice that time. But at the same time, like, I enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
I love what I do, not just in terms of building e-commerce businesses and what we've got going on, but also the support with members. You know, it's like bank holiday weekend. I was Zooms with members Friday, Saturday. All right, Sunday I took off. And then Monday I was like straight back on it again. But it's because you love what you do. But I think a lot of people with that traditional mindset are like, I'm not working this. It's my time to chill out. I'm going to relax. But especially in the early days of building an e-commerce business, there's no time to relax. You can't just sit back and chill out. You have to push yourself and use every spare minute you've got to build the business to a point that then you can take a step back and you can take your foot off the gas a little bit because that business is established and now it's running on autopilot. It's creating the passive income that we talk about so much. But, you know, you've got to get to that point.
Absolutely,
it doesn't just happen passive straight away.
Yeah, definitely.
I think a lot of people find their passion through like purpose rather than the business itself. So we've got so many members that you can tell they're not really passionate about the business as much, but they're passionate of what the business will bring them in terms of freedom, flexibility, more time with the family. So I think, you know, making a short-term sacrifice to then have more flexibility, it's just an absolute no-brainer, because if you don't sacrifice now, you know, your life will be a reflection of you not making those sacrifices. You're always going to be, you know, going to work on a Monday. You're always going to be living, you know, hand to mouth. You're always going to, you know, feel that maybe financial struggle for the people that are struggling. Without a change, you'll never see a change. So at some point you have to say, right, okay, like everything usually takes care of itself, by the way. So people watching this, it isn't like, right, I've got to evaluate my friends, you know, my holidays. Like you don't need to evaluate any of that, because we never sat there and really had those conversations. Exactly. We sat there and we were like, okay, this is our priority now. Until this works, then we'll have more holidays. But we didn't sit there and go, no more holidays, no more friends. It just, it worked itself out. As long as you get home and you go, right, my priority now, I've worked for somebody else, or I've run my business today that I don't like running anymore, whether it's because of staffing issues, whatever. Now I get home, now I'm building my empire. Now, you know, there was a quote I used to use, 9 to 5 pays the bills, 6 till 10 builds the empires. So now you could say, okay, now is my time to build an empire, and everything else will take care of itself, because the last thing that would be in your head is a holiday, because you're so obsessed with gaining that financial freedom. Like you said earlier, Tami, you know, we always knew we were going to be able to travel. We travel 1 to 2 times a month now. That's a month. Most people do 1 to 2 times a year. Because we sacrificed very early on. So when we were looking at my friends' Instagrams, your friends' Instagrams, and they're away on holiday, you know, in the Caribbean or whatever, and we're stuck in my mum's bedroom, they're not making any sacrifices. That is why they have 1 to 2 holidays a year, where me and you would be sat in my mum's little bedroom working on a laptop. We sacrificed those holidays that we could have potentially had to be able to do it every single week of the year if we wanted to. So I think, you know, everything will take care of itself. You don't have to sit there and go, well, I need to evaluate my whole life. No, you just need to do something differently, and you'll start to see your life slowly change. You'll start to see friends disappear because they're meant to disappear. They don't want to level up. So they'll stop messaging you because you're leveling up. It just happens.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a case of you lose all your friends.
No,
Because like,
it's not going to be like Billy No Mates.
completely change your circle of friends. I think you find, like I've found that, there's certain people that I just don't see very often anymore. But there are certain circles of friends that I've got that I have still had from ages ago. But like when we do meet up, we are talking about business. We are talking about like how much, all right, I don't want this to sound wrong, but like how much money we've generated that month. But it's from a perspective of saying, okay, how have you done that? Tell me more. Is that something that I can get in on?
Yeah.
So it's not just about, it's not bragging about how much money you've made. It's about looking at, are there other opportunities to invest elsewhere, and can you level up even further? Can you invest into something else that could potentially then blow up and you reap the rewards from it? It's all of that kind of stuff.
A big part of business is talking numbers. It's talking numbers and going, okay, so how did you do those numbers? And then you break it down, that conversation leads to another conversation, and that's business. You know? Where people, who don't want to be open-minded will think you're bragging. Yeah. And this is why they say don't speak about big ideas or, big things to small-minded people, because they'll just think you're bragging. You're going one ear out the other, think, oh, look at this guy bragging.
But like all my friends, like we all work, but a lot of us all work in different industries. And so like when we're talking about this stuff, I'm thinking to myself, well, is there anything that I can use that they've done within that business, any strategy that I can then employ in my business and look to then level that up even further? So it's I love those type of discussions now. It's
cool. Let's wrap this podcast up. Really appreciate you guys coming on.
It's
an awesome value because we've all been there. We've all been there. It's all based on experience,
Absolutely.
And making a sacrifice 100%. Is the best thing you can do.
And the thing is, not one of us had come from like a wealthy background or anything like that. We've all built it ourselves. So it relates to a lot of people that are watching as well.
And none of us look back and think, oh, making a sacrifice was the worst thing ever. No. Every single person that's made a sacrifice will say it's the best thing they've ever done.
100%.
They forget pleasures in the short term, and then they have pleasures for the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
Best thing ever. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. Cheers.